Hi friends, I'm back with my first installment in the topics on HR discussions. As promised, I will discuss a bit on recruitment. Let's look at this board here. Some of the points that we will cover will be pre-recruitment steps, selection based on competence, recruitment using social media, the selection process, recruitment using artificial intelligence, and how we attract and retain millennials. Ask any recruiter and she will say that recruitment is a pain. She will complain about monotonous and routine nature of work and the same stupid questions from the candidates, endless wait for interviewers even after sufficient notice, and grumbling candidates. And all this she will tell you in utter frustration. We are going to go through some steps to make recruitment a little more interesting. A friend recently advertised for some good candidates, mentioning that his is a startup offering growth to those joining him. The responses were disappointing, with a lot of freshers and a few of dubious profiles applying. We discussed the matter, and realizing where he lost out, he immediately set out revamping his website to make it vibrant and full of exciting products with long-term plans and rewards for good performance, and invited candidates looking for an exciting career. The next lot of responses was much better, and he could select a few good candidates. Now let us look at how we can do a bit of the pre-employment steps better. Today's candidate is, even if unemployed, is much more curious about a company and will definitely do a lot of research on the company, looking at his website and his promoters and what the career offers. For an employer, the biggest problem is the uncertainty about talent. Just today, the reports say of an excess of techie guys in cities like Bangalore and Hyderabad, while a few years ago there was a glut of fresh engineers in the market, which actually lowered the initial salaries very, very badly. But the good news this year is that there is likely to be an increase in hiring this year. But the nature of hiring will change, with more demand for specific skills than generic ones as hitherto, with a lot of talent acquisition happening in data management, artificial intelligence and other high skill areas. There is enough scope then for both the employer as well as the prospective candidate to gear up for a new scenario. One of the first things that I would talk or advise any employer to do is to do an employer branding. Why branding? Because employers today need to spend time on how they project their organization. Because almost everyone who is looking for a job will look at their profile of the organization and what the organization has to offer. Sometime back, I was called to meet the top team of a financial organization for a consulting assignment. As is my habit, I just went to a branch of theirs nearby and met at least 2 counter staff. And unfortunately, no one paid me any attention except to tell me curtly to await my turn. I found that I was not the only one waiting. There was a young lady who had come earlier, and she was actually fuming, waiting for a call from the manager. She was muttering that she had been waiting for an hour, and just then a peon came and gestured to her to follow him. She came back after 10 minutes and said to no one in particular that she was definitely not joining this organization. My brief to the top management was to first get their people, especially the front office staff, to be trained to become more polite and helpful to anyone entering the office premises. In today's fast world, youngsters applying for a job need quick responses like the service they are used to in fast food counters. Even though they are ready to wait for a call to meet the selection panel, they all look for quick responses from the management. A response that is given to them within a reasonable time of a week will make a good impression on them, and maybe the first impression to help them join the organization. Today there is a lot of talk on selection based on competence. Competence because we are no longer looking at people with a background from a similar industry. The classic example is MNC companies who come and hire candidates from our IITs, fresh candidates, all in the belief that these candidates are well trained and competent to pick up and handle any function in their organization. A discussion on recruitment will not be complete without a mention of the social media that is currently in use. Some statistics. 54% of all job seekers go online to look for job information. 35% have actually got their new jobs using social media. The four major ones are LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and most of these platforms compel a lot of creativity in the advertisements that are being issued. Social media helps retain the costs low while at the same time making the approach more social and individual especially to the younger crowd. During the selection process, I would always suggest that a few mailers go out to the prospective candidate, giving them an idea on how to reach the venue, how much time expected, and how soon the entire process would be over. I also advocate the HR team to project themselves in an HR selfie, which would help the candidate identify at least with a few of the company professionals whom they meet. And of course, a final mail or a letter to the candidate indicating selection within a few days, especially a week, would definitely help. We also talk about artificial intelligence and how it affects recruitment. Routine jobs may disappear using artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence could result in more jobs where deeper human connect is required, such as counseling, training, engagement. Now let's talk about the millennials, which I mentioned, the millennials joining the workforce. With many in the workforce known as the baby boomers retiring soon, the millennials will have to join the workforce to fill the gaps. Now, attracting these millennials who are said to have been born after 2000 is tough, as their attention span is very limited and their decision making rather fickle. Let's see how we can attract and retain the millennials. The invitation to join the organization must be over the social media and much less in print, as they rarely read newspapers. The employer must have a vibrant website which will only then attract the youngster. They must be provided a lot of opportunity to learn. And it is said that an organization that offers scope for good learning will attract those keen on a career. We must keep these youngsters engaged with an occasional pat on the back for good work done. And remember, they look for flexi time and may not be regular at 9 a.m. But once they find a task interesting, they might come on Saturdays, Sundays and work late till they complete the job to their satisfaction. And let us avoid calling them kids, as they used to be called kids all their life. Instead, call them young men and young ladies.